Credit cards can be one of the most dangerous financial tools if you do not know how to use them. It is crazy how many people dig themselves into massive holes of debt, all from swiping a little piece of plastic. And I'm not just talking out of my ass here. Back in college, I even got myself into about $2,000 of credit card debt, and it taught me some really brutal lessons. So today, I want to break down how credit cards can ruin your life, what traps to avoid, and how to actually use them to your advantage instead of letting them use you. So what is the dumbest thing that you have ever bought on a credit card? Be honest, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear, and let's jump into the video. So starting out with kind of the first thing here is, why are credit cards just so tempting, and why do people even get caught up with them? And one of the main reasons is that credit cards can make your spending feel painless. Like, you can literally swipe, you don't even type in your PIN, you just swipe a card, you walk away, and there's no immediate hit to your bank account. And that's the way that companies have designed them. And not only that, they've added in a lot of like different rewards. So if you spend a certain amount, you'll get points, or you'll get cash back, or you'll get free flights. And the reality of it is, you have to spend a ton of money just to actually get a decent reward from a credit card, and that goes for any credit card. And so for a lot of young people in their 20s, to them it is basically free money, and that is the case until the actual bill comes later on. And so for a lot of people in their 20s, this is basically free money until the bill comes and reality hits them like a train. Like, imagine two guys making $3,000 a month. One of them pays cash or uses just like a normal debit card for things. That person budgets, while the other guy swipes for everything, doesn't track spending. At the end of the month, one of them is in control of their money, while the other has $1,500 that he can't pay off. And now that $1,500 is going to be growing at 20% interest every year, which is another reason that credit cards are so brutal. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. And here's the crazy part, is that most people who are drowning in credit card debt, they didn't go on one massive shopping spree. It usually starts with a few small swipes where it's like $40 here, $100 there. And then the bill comes in, it's $1,000, and you think, hey, no big deal. I'll just make the minimum payment this month and I'll catch up later. And that logic is right where it all goes downhill. Because when it comes to minimum payments, most cards set the minimum payment amount at around 2 to 3% of your balance. So if you owe $5,000, your monthly might only be like $100 to $150, which sounds great, right? You borrowed $5,000 and you only have to pay $100 to $150. But here's the trick. If you only pay that $100, the balance barely goes down, because most of it is just covering the interest. You're not actually paying down the card itself. You're just paying the interest that they're charging you. So like, let's say you have $5,000 on a credit card with 20% interest. If you only pay the minimum, so let's say that's $125, about $83 of that is going to interest, while only 42 of it is actually knocking the balance down. So it's going from 5,000 to whatever 5,000 minus $42 is. It's really not moving much. And at that rate, it would actually take you over 20 years to pay it off, and you'd end up paying more than $10,000 in interest, which is double what you originally borrowed. And this is what makes credit cards just so brutal, and why a lot of big finance people will tell you to pay off credit cards first, because that interest rate of 20% will just wreck your financial future. Like, imagine buying a $1,000 TV, and because you only made the minimum payment, you end up paying $2,500 for it by the time the balance is gone. Like, that's an insane thing if you really think about it. And the larger that credit card balance is, the more you're paying in interest, so it gets even worse when you run up your cards. And this is how actually a lot of banks get rich. It's by charging people high amounts of interest. And so honestly, minimum payments, it's kind of like financial quicksand. Like, they make you feel like you're keeping up, but in reality, you're just stuck in place while the interest piles up on top of you. So yeah, the minimum might keep the collections people off your ass, but it won't actually solve the problem, which is the debt itself. That's why I always tell people, never just pay the minimum, either pay in full or throw as much extra as you can to get rid of that balance as soon as possible. And so going into my personal story in college, and honestly, this is a lesson that it was rough to learn for me, but this is basically what happened. Was, I think around my junior year of college, I was a pretty big stoner. I won't lie to you guys. I was smoking a lot of weed, and with me doing that, I was ordering a lot of Uber Eats, like an absurd amount, to the point where, and I'm not making much money here. I was delivering pizzas. I mean, I was enjoying college. Don't get me wrong. I was still going to classes. I was still getting all my work done, but I'd get done for the day. I'd take a rip, and then I would, order Uber Eats because I didn't want to drive. And a meal that would normally cost, I don't know, 10, 15, something like that, would end up costing $25 or $30, because Uber Eats and a lot of those delivery apps are pretty expensive. And before I knew it, I'm not kidding, in a matter of probably like 6 to 8 months, I actually ran up my card to $2,000 in debt. And it's not all on Uber Eats, but a lot of it was. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Looking back on it, it's actually pretty embarrassing to think about, because my spending is nothing like that now. But the moment I actually realized it was a problem was, I think I was paying like, I want to say around like $50 or $80 or something in minimum monthly payments. And every time that monthly payment would come around, even though it was only like $80, again, I was a broke college student. I didn't have a ton of money. I remember it stressing me out. And I also remember that even with me paying that minimum payment, nothing was really happening. And also in college, I was not that good with money, because anytime, I would, let's say I had $1,000 in my account, I would try to spend it until it's back back down to 200, because in my mind, it's like, oh, well, you're going to make way more money out of college. There's no need to save right now, which is a very stupid mindset. And I would try to recommend avoid doing that at all costs. But how I ended up getting out of this debt was just by not spending on the credit card anymore, only using my debit card, and then slowly paying it off, throwing 50 bucks here, 100 bucks there. Any extra money I had, I would just throw at it to try to pay it off. And I ended up paying it off pretty quickly, which was nice. And again, that's only $2,000, but I cannot imagine the minimum monthly payments for somebody that has $20,000 or $30,000 of credit card debt, or even more. I mean, it is just brutal out there, especially with that 20% interest rate or 18% interest rate or whatever it may be. And that's actually one thing that makes credit card debt so dangerous, is that the interest rates on it are so high. They're normally between like 18 to 25%. And if you compare that to even investing, like, oh, should I pay off my credit card or should I invest? Most investments are going to get you between probably 7 to 10% a year. So almost every single time it's better to pay off the credit card. And credit cards are a total wealth killer because credit cards grow against you. Like, the interest piles up over time while investments grow for you. There's also a lot of mental stress with being in debt. It really makes you feel trapped. It can make you feel anxious, and it could definitely make you feel like you're behind in life. I know for me, it was kind of like the quicksand example where I felt like, I was doing something, but it really wasn't moving the needle much. And if you're paying like, let's say $300 a month towards credit card debt, that $300 could be going into investments, which could be growing for decades. So there is a pretty big opportunity cost there that you have to consider. Again, if you're deciding between paying off a credit card or investing money, always pay off the credit card. There's almost no questions asked about that. And what can get really dangerous is some people can even get into a debt cycle where they take out new credit cards to pay off old cards. And that is just an absolute nightmare. So if you want to avoid falling into a credit card trap, let's actually talk about how to use credit cards the right way. The first thing, and one of the main golden rules I think a lot of people have, is never buy something on a credit card if you don't already have that money in your checking account. If your checking account is at $500 and you put $100 on your credit card, you're good. If you have $500 in your checking account and you're going to put $2,000 on your credit card, that may not be a good idea. Or if you do decide to do that, let's say you only have 500 and you have 2,000, then you should be trying to use them like a debit card and pay them off every single month. So it's okay if you put a big purchase on it, but again, you may want to try to pay it off as quickly as possible within, I'd say, 30 to 60 days, because you don't want to let that interest build up over 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years. You get the point. And if you can handle credit cards responsibly, which I think a lot of people can't, which is part of the reason Dave Ramsey tells people not to use a credit card at all. But again, if you want to build up your credit score, which is, something you're going to need if you want to have a big purchase in your life, like buying a car or a house, you do have to be able to have that financial discipline to have credit cards. Because at the end of the day, a credit score is basically the bank or the lender's way of looking at you and going, hey, if we loaned you this money, how likely are you to pay us back? Do you make your payments on time, or do you pay very late? Do you go months without paying us? And so your credit score is a reflection of that. You want to have a very high credit score because it basically means, hey, we can lend you money and you will pay us back. You'll pay us back on time. You'll pay back the balance, relatively quickly. You're not going to miss payments. You're pretty good to lend to. And if you do have a low credit score, your interest rate on things can be a lot higher. So it's very important to have a good credit score. And then one benefit of credit cards is if you can use them the right way. Let's say you put $2,000 a month on a card, but you end up paying it off in full, then you might be earning about, $20 to $30 in cash back or free points, which that part is basically free money, but that's only if you don't carry a balance. And I got to really emphasize that. So how do you get out of debt if you're already in it? The first thing, kind of like what I did, is to stop swiping, stop using the card. I don't care if you have to put the card in a freezer. I don't care if you have to cut it up. Do whatever you can to stop swiping the card. The next thing you're going to want to do is choose a payoff method. So one of them is the snowball method, where basically let's say you have multiple credit cards, and let's say one of them is $1,000. That's the balance. Let's say another one is $2,000. Let's say another one is $3,000. With the snowball method, you start by paying off the card with the smallest debt first. So you pay off that $1,000 one, then you pay off the $2,000, and then the $3,000 one. And so what happens with the snowball method is after you pay off that $1,000, you're no longer paying interest on that, which actually means you're going to be saving more money. And that extra money you're saving, you can now use to pay off the $2,000 card, and then you're going to save even more money because you're not paying interest on both card 1 and card 2, and you can use that to pay off card 3. So that is the snowball method. And then the other method is called the avalanche method, where you basically just look at the interest rate on all your credit cards and you start by paying off the highest interest rate first, and then you work your way down. So let's say that, like before, you have card 1, 2, and 3. Card 1 is $1,000 balance, card 2 is $2,000, card 3 is $3,000. But let's pretend the $2,000 balance has an interest rate of 25%, and the other two are, let's say the card 1, let's say, has 18% and card 3 has 16%. You'd start by paying off card 2 because that's the highest interest rate, and then you go to card 1 at that 18%, you pay that off, and then you go to card 3 at 16%. So that's the difference between the two methods. It's either the snowball or the avalanche method. The next thing you want to do, and this is always a very easy thing to do, is try to either develop a side hustle or find ways to cut expenses. Normally cutting expenses is the quickest way to start saving money. And then after that, if you can build a small, and then after you pay off your credit cards, try to build a small emergency fund. That way you don't go right back into debt. Like for me, if I can pay off $2,000 in college, not making much money, again, I was delivering pizzas, then you can definitely crush your debt too. It's just going to take time, and you really want to focus on just getting that out of your life because it will make your life a lot less stressful. So the main takeaways I have for you guys here is that credit cards, they're not all evil, but they're very dangerous if you do not respect them. I want you to think long term. Carrying a balance now can keep you from building wealth for years because you're making those minimum payments, and that money you're paying each month, it could be invested instead, which could make you a lot more money instead of you owing money. And if you treat credit cards right, they could be a tool to build up credit. You can use it to get a lower interest rate when you go to buy a house or a car. So definitely respect the credit cards and they will respect you. And credit card companies make billions of dollars because most people play the game wrong and try not to be like most people. So that is how credit cards can kill your wealth and ruin your life. This is what you want to avoid. So that is how credit card companies can absolutely ruin your life. Make sure you are very smart about them. That is it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like down below, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.